Hello, everyone, and welcome back to part 2 of this amazing podcast episode. You are tuning in to the A to B podcast, your number one source for military entrepreneurship and entertainment, guys. We've been talking for about 50 minutes already. This is part 2. Like always, I'm joined by my co-host, Barry Bull, and today we're talking to Dylan Hernandez. We were talking about in the first part of the episode, right? About how Dylan decided to join the United States Marine Corps. His first trajectory during his first 5 years, how it really wasn't all cookie cutter during his first few years, because he really didn't like, the Marine Corps. He wasn't aligning with the Marine Corps. And then he had some good leadership towards the end of his first enlistment, which that's what drove him to re-enlist. And that's where we left over. Yeah. So, okay. So you are, people are telling you, it's time. When do you realize, that's actually one of the first questions that I wanted to ask you, right? Because that was, I'm guessing 2016-ish, mid 2016.
Yeah.
So, okay. So when did you realize, because there's a lot of Marines out there that think they have more time than what they really do.
Yeah.
Meaning, I'll just re-enlist.
Right.
Or, I just get out. And they fail to plan properly for either.
Right.
Of them. So when was it that you realized, like, man, I really need to put my re-enlistment package?
Honestly, I knew very early on that I was going to re-enlist once I started getting back on the right track and, found my motivation for the Marine Corps. And I did know, as a pulley, that I wanted to be a drill instructor. And
wow.
Yeah. So,
as a pulley?
As a pulley.
I never heard that in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. So going to the pull.
So you ain't even a Marine.
Yeah. Wasn't even a Marine. I just remember going to the annual pull function. It's funny because they actually let one of the recruiters there at my station put on a green belt and try to.
They let the recruiter do that?
They let one of the recruiters do it to slay the recruiter and give him experience of being a drill instructor. They're like, yeah, if you want to support, go ahead. And so, and he got slayed out of his mind. But I just remember I remember seeing the drill instructors there.
That's a shocker.
Yeah. I remember seeing one of the drill instructors there and just being like, damn, this guy's, he's locked on, he's intense. He catches everything. And I just knew I wanted to be at that level at some point. And it's funny because he actually was, his name's Mark Bautista. He was actually a senior drill instructor when I went to boot camp. And in my company.
Wow.
Yeah, so
that's amazing.
Yeah. So
I don't get it though.
Here we go, guys.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I don't get it. What is it about drill instructors that all of a sudden you see a person with a freaking campaign cover? Oh my goodness, I want to be like that guy.
I would say the reason being is because when you look at the average drill instructor and you look at the average recruiter. And I'm not trying to talk
yes,
shit.
You are. You're talking shit, Dylan.
I'm just talking facts.
Shit, Dylan.
I'm talking facts.
Did you see my video? We try to be nice to the recruiters, okay? Yeah. They're not.
I respect recruiters and the job they have and how hard that their job is. And I won't argue that the skills that they get are phenomenal. But I think the reason being is because when you look at the average drill instructor, you look at the average recruiter, especially because a lot of recruiters don't have that discipline to hold themselves accountable.
They're dirtbags.
Yeah. So.
Y'all know I'm gonna clip this shit. I'm gonna put this shit on Instagram, guys.
Dylan didn't even hesitate. That boy said yes.
I'm gonna clip this. You know what, man? You know what?
Because it's true, though.
No, it's not, Barry.
I'm not saying it as a whole.
Alberto,
you can't come in here and fix it after you said it, Dylan.
Tell me how many great drill instructors do you know off the top of your head, and then how many recruiters who are supposed to be on social media and are supposed to have a big presence,
social media presence. Yeah.
How many?
I know more recruiters than drill instructors. I'll tell you that. Obviously,
there are this is what I said in my message. There are definitely amazing recruiters. Right. Albert is one of them.
Mm-hmm. I'm not anymore. Marine Corps, you don't pay me.
However, they are the exception. They just are.
Yeah.
So nobody's saying. I've met recruiters I thought to myself, this guy wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah.
Like Sergeant Major Palos. He would have been an amazing drill instructor. Sergeant Major Ruiz. He was an amazing recruiter and an amazing drill instructor.
I think also on that, though, is because the standards, you have to also realize that the first image that police see is the standards that the recruiter has. And unfortunately, a lot of recruiters lower those standards One, because they're on their own and don't have anyone holding them accountable, and then two, they have to be more relaxed to, you know, be more inviting to those people. So it's not as much of a sharp change to that person until they see their drill instructors and they're lock, cock, ready to rock, you know. And so
because there's no once you make it to one of the MCRDs, that's it.
Exactly.
Like
So-
that's it. You can't be like, oh, I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
You can say it, but
It will not work out in your favor.
It will not work out in your favor.
Yeah.
You know. Okay, so you decided that you want to re-enlist once you got back on track. You know, you started, you know, going back to what you really wanted out of your career. And then did you submit a re-enlistment package with the incentive of being a drill instructor?
I tried, but honestly, I can't remember exactly why I couldn't at the time. I actually submitted my package as a corporal, and then
Re-enlistment.
No, my
Drill instructor?
my drill instructor
Okay.
package. We didn't get that, and then it was just one of those things where it lined up. I got meritorious sergeant, and then just submitted my package while I was actually on deployment. So
Was there ever a point in your first enlistment where you were like, okay, I don't know if I'm gonna stay in the Marine Corps, or did you just know?
just in the beginning, like that first, I'd say, year or so,
Yeah.
I was definitely on the fence. But once I got on track and just started to really started doing deployments and everything, I just got really competitive and just wanted to do the best that I could in everything I did, and more so because I also realized by doing that, because I learned that proximity is power. Whether negative or positive.
What does that mean?
Meaning the people that you surround yourself will have power over your actions and how you are in a negative or positive direction, depending on who you hang out with. And so when I decided to start surrounding myself with people that were more about the Marine Corps, I started to really change my perspective, and therefore my performance and what I wanted to do changed. And so I wanted to be that for other people. And so that's why I started doing everything, MEI, and then every course that I went to, I wanted to be honor graduate or gung ho or something, to create competition amongst everyone so we could all try to get better.
Which we call a sword chaser
Yeah.
in the Marine Corps.
Right.
If you guys didn't know
Sword
what it is.
chaser?
You never heard that?
Never heard of that? Yeah.
Yeah, so like if you're like honor grad, theoretically you're awarded an NCO sword.
Oh yeah.
Obviously that doesn't happen, but that's the term that's used for it. So,
You know the crazy part?
what's that?
Every single course besides the 0811 artillery course at the beginning of my career, every single course I either finish honor graduate or top 10% of the class.
Yeah.
That's
Every
amazing. But that's not a surprise
course.
though. That's my point.
That's how it was for me as
But
well.
Yeah.
we never talked about this. You and I were both in aviation, and I went through school in Pensacola as well. My A school was Pensacola, and then my C schools, one was at Camp Pendleton, California. The other one was in Jacksonville, Florida. And then
Damn.
my first duty station was back in Camp Pendleton. But to your point, and I was going to ask you this because the way I felt was it's like you're in school for a year solid.
Yeah.
And you earn this title Marine, and it's very exhilarating. And then you're in school, and it's very not exhilarating.
Yeah.
It's very boring. You stand a lot of watch. You're a professional cleaner. You're feeling the pressure of taking tests. You don't want to flunk out. There's all these things. You know that you're like this transient. You're in transition,
Right.
right? You're not like solid feet on solid ground. Did you experience any of that? Do you think that had anything to do with it?
Oh, for sure. That I would say is a big part of it, was because I just you almost feel like you don't have purpose, right? Because you're just there to do school, and so yeah, I would say that was a big part of having that feeling of like, what am I doing here? Like, why am I doing this? So going into the fleet and kind of having a change of scenery and everything definitely helped. And then once I did surround myself with the right people and started pursuing, having not just existing, but having goals to pursue, right? So,
What does the right people look like if you want to have a successful career in the military?
well, success leaves clues, and so you will see the people that are thriving, and it's, I would say, the people that are achieving what you want to achieve, or have achieved what you want to achieve, and those that are just on the right path, you know?
Don't you do that now that you're in real estate?
100%.
You find people that are doing what you want to do in real estate.
Yeah.
They're whatever the metrics are, right? Whether it's they've sold this many homes, or they look like this, they do their social media like this. I'm gonna do that. That's what they're doing. Is that what you mean by clues?
Yeah, I would say, in indie industry, success leaves clues through what they've accomplished, what they are doing, the people that they impact. Like, that leaves clues to someone who is genuine and doing the right things. You know, and on the same token, like, you'll see those who are not successful, like, there's clues there too, you know, like with the result, the lives that they're living. You know?
You got some belt cleavage, you know, you do 5 pull-ups and a wiggle.
Yeah.
What would you say?
Time out.
I'm not saying, I don't remember like a specific gunny. He was a recruiter, but anyways.
Okay, so I do have a question whenever it comes to this topic that we're talking about. Okay, so what do you mean by, I just lost my train of thought with the pull-ups and a wiggle, dog. You just go say what you were going to say. That shit threw me all the way out.
So, okay, so now, how do you think you would have felt if you would have got out without being a drill instructor? You said you knew from the time you were a poolee, you wanted to be a DI. If you would have got out without doing that, how do you think you would feel about that today?
I would have lived with regret for the rest of my life of, like, what if, you know, it'd have been one of those things that I just would have, I don't know. Obviously I would have managed through it, but I would definitely been upset with myself. Yeah.
What would you like to say to the audience out there, no matter what branch they're in, right? Obviously we're all Marines in here, but they don't know whether they want to stay in. What do you say to those Marines?
I would say a couple things. One, are you ready to get out? And by ready, that means, you know, holistically, mentally, physically, financially, most importantly, financially. Have you put yourself in a position to get out and have a smooth transition for you or you and your family? And then two, I'd ask them, why do you want to get out? Is that because you just don't like where you're at? Is it because you don't like the leaders that you're currently surrounded by? Is it something that can change through that next enlistment? And lastly, I'd ask them, have you accomplished everything that you joined for? Regardless, only you know what that's for, but did you accomplish what you joined for? And if not, are you going to have unfinished business that you wish you would have went for had you stayed in?
What would unfinished business qualify as, in your opinion? Like a duty station, or maybe DI?
Yeah, I mean, some people it's you know, a billet. Some people it's getting their degree before they get out. Some people it's going on deployment and actually feeling, you know, because you hear it all the time. Well, I didn't actually like do anything, so like whatever, you know. Yeah, I served, but I didn't deploy. Whatever the case is, everyone has their own metrics of what that means. But you know, it's just identifying what is that unfinished business for you, you know, and do you have that? So go ahead.
You got out in April. Have you had any regrets? Have you questioned yourself at all?
Not once, because because I realized before I made that decision to get out that I really did accomplish all the goals that I set for myself, aside from a very select few that I realized was something that I had made that goal because it was just the natural succession in what I had accomplished so far, not necessarily because it's legitimately what I wanted, which was a hard realization to have, because I know a lot of Marines or a lot of people that are high performing, they have these aspirations just because as you continue to go up the ladder, you continue to go through your career, that's just natural. But I would also ask to kind of really sit back and self-evaluate of like, why do I want to accomplish this goal? Is it because I actually want to make it happen, or is it just because that's just what everyone else does?
Okay. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, because we'll get there, but let's back up a little tiny bit. Drill field. You volunteered for the drill field. Now, to that point, and I have this conversation with Marines on social media almost every day about, you know, should I get out, Sergeant Major? They'll message me, Sergeant Major, what should I do?
Yep.
And I ask them, if you got out today, what would you regret not doing? Okay. And regret is not always these. If you guys are out there and you're questioning yourself, what should I do? You know, what's the answer? What are the regrets you're going to have? And a regret isn't always this big gasping for air moment, right?
Yeah.
But what do we say about it? Discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons, because it does. And regret sometimes sounds like, man, I wish I would have stayed in to be a DI because it looked like you really crushed it and I always wanted to be one. That's what regret sounds like, guys. So what do you, as Dylan put it, how do you define that in your life? Maybe you wanted to retire or get out at a certain rank. Maybe you wanted to go to the certain duty station. Maybe you wanted to jump out of airplanes, rappel off of the cliff and, NTA in the jungle in Okinawa. Like, be a DI, be a recruiter, be a Marine security guard. You got to sit down and search your heart and your mind. First term, meritorious sergeant, which is amazing. You want to be a DI. What's that process like?
So put in the package, went to DI school, and at the time went back to, they call it boot camp 2.0 at the time, just going back to the basics of what it is to be a Marine and what it is to instruct Marines.
Do you have any vivid memories of DI school?
For sure. So he actually just left. First Sergeant Hund, who was just the DI monitor, he was the PTI. And I just remember watching him, and he was like, to me, still was the epitome of a Marine and a drill instructor. And I remember just watching how he carried himself, professionally and personally. And he had the perfect balance of being able to instruct us and tell us how you should be and stuff like that. And he would literally say, demonstration on, and boom, go, just flip the switch and show us, how to run the deck, how to, set him up for PT, whatever the case is. And just watching him be able to switch that on and then be done with it and then go, all right, now what did you see there? What did I do? Why did I do that? So like those kind of experiences were very vivid for me at DI school, seeing how he performed things and just the level of professionalism that the DI school staff had to be able to do their job and be as intense as they were.
Was there any like shock and awe moment, kind of like when you were a recruit in boot camp, or no?
Not as much, just because obviously you kind of know the business, and I watched a lot of videos on it and stuff, and I had friends that were drill instructors and stuff. So I wouldn't say it was as much of a shock and awe, just because I was more prepared then.
Sure. Okay. And when you went to DI school, what was your PFT? What was your fitness like? Was it still was it pretty good, or?
Yeah, I would say it was decent. Like, I mean, I had never, since I was a pulley, didn't get max pull-ups, max crunches. It was always my run. So my run, comparative to my class, was average. Actually, it was actually below average. It was still a decent first class, but it was not where they wanted me to be. So like I think at the time, if you didn't have like a 270 or higher or something like that, you had to do the remedial PT on the weekends or something like that. So I had to do that for like the beginning of it. Yeah, as far as PT goes, like, it was just the running that slayed me.
Did you ever question yourself, like, man, can I do this? Yeah. I'm gonna go to DI, and then it was hard.
That first S&E, or what we call the SLAE,
strength and endurance.
Yeah, and I remember it was funny when it went full circle when I was a DI school instructor, but I still remember that first sprint, going all out, trying to, be the best. And then they're like, all right, run the deck. And you're just trying to, gas for air and try to, keep your composure and count down and control the deck and everything. And
yeah.
So that was like the biggest gut punch at the time. I thought,
what does running the deck mean for those people who don't understand the terminology?
Yeah. So taking control of the platoon, being able to instruct them, count them down, tell them exactly what they're going to do, how they're going to do it in a precise way, and ensuring that you hold them accountable to it.
Yeah, so it's like, when you remember when you're in boot camp and the drill instructors, they get you in whether you're running or marching, platoon, halt, left face, fall out, get online. You guys recruits are sprinting right into the squad bay. What are drill instructors doing? They're counting you down, right? For Paris Island, it was probably like 500, 499,
Yeah,
and recruits are rushing, and where are they going, right? They're going to their position on line, which is in front of their footlocker, in front of their bed, which we call a rack. And you get in there, and now we're getting ready for maybe another event. Maybe we're going to a class. Maybe we're going to chow.
Right.
So maybe we need to change uniform. So all of that, you're making the recruits do it, as we say, by the numbers, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Recruits you don't just go in there and go, all right, guys, get ready for class, do you?
Nope. Everything is by the numbers, piece by piece, and they're going to do it how you say it, when you say it,
Yeah.
exactly how you say it.
Take your left boot off right now. 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 50, right?
Yep.
Take your left sock off right now. I mean, that's by the numbers, and you make it very stressful. So you're saying after PT, you as a DI school student, you're coming in like sucking air, like, and then you got to run the deck, and you're realizing, oh my gosh, this is tough.
Yeah, yeah.
What were some? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish.
I was just gonna say the phrase that I learned at DI school and what I told my students when I was a DI school instructor is there's a difference between being fit and being drill instructor fit.
Amen to that.
There's 100% difference between those two different types of fits. So.
Now, what was some of the main differences from? Because obviously you were an instructor. I didn't even know this. You were an instructor at a DI school.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of the main key difference in between, drill instructor school and what they teach you? Because from what I hear, like each company has like a different ditty.
Yeah.
Each company has like a different way of doing things.
Here we go.
So I mean, Barry, what do you mean? Here we go.
So do you,
We're
do
not
you want
doing
me to,
that.
Do you want me to answer?
Because there's companies that I still hate and will always hate to this day.
So do you want me to answer that from a student perspective?
Yeah, well,
or
I mean, no, just
like
from
as a-
Dylan Hernandez's perspective, like what was your like? Yeah, I guess you in that moment, it's like because I'm gonna mention a couple of examples for you. Okay,
Right.
a couple of examples that I always hear is you graduate DI school and your instructors tell you take the leave. Right? Am I right? Am I right? Tell him out. That's just one. But it's like, am I right? Most drill instructors tell him that, right?
Yeah.
Take your leave. But then all of a sudden, after that graduation ends, you get snatched up by your company, and then your company tells you, hey, we're starting a cycle here in 4 days. So if you miss, you can take your leave. But if you miss the F days, you're not getting signed off this first cycle.
I think it's very circumstantial to and this isn't a political answer. Like I 100% believe it. My experience was different, right? I think it's circumstantial to the company that you're going to and the environment that company has. So like I was very fortunate that I was in Kilo Company because although I do believe that we train drill instructors the right way with decency, but you still got trained. But we also had First Sergeant Coburn, who was a phenomenal first.
I just want to point out that he was one of my new drill instructors in Charlie Company.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah.
So ultimately, he's a product of Charlie Company. You see what I did?
I see what you did.
You
there.
see what I did, dude?
But he was a phenomenal first sergeant, and he would not let stupid shit happen, for lack of better terms. Like he would make you sit down in the F days and eat real quick in the mornings, whatever. And now I'd take a drink, I would try to take a bite of eggs, and I couldn't do it, and then I'd get back out there. But anyway, to answer your question, I think it's just very circumstantial on the company, where they're at, and it's up to the drill instructor themselves to make that decision. Because I know for me, being in that position, I'm gonna go like if I have a month's worth of leave or however much leave that I can technically take, but my company's about to pick up, I'm gonna go and make sure I'm there at pickup, because I want to make sure that I'm showing not the incentive, but the initiative to be there with the company and get the experience of my first cycle.
It is a thing. It really is. And he that's a great answer, by the way. And he's right. And it's not as adversarial all the time.
Right.
I would make that call sometimes.
But it's very dependent on the individual that is receiving you. If I'm understanding you
It totally is. I always made our company, Charlie Company, the guys I knew, we really didn't take it out on you. If you did not show up, you wanted to take the leave. I just wanted you to understand you will not get signed off. That's not even my choice. Mm-hmm. That's a company policy. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
If you're cool with that, dog, it's all gravy. But at the end of the day,
you better come back ready to work, though.
Yeah. And, and it happened with a guy, like I've told this story, De La Rosa. He showed up T19, which was the CCX course. He crushed it. He did amazing. And
Well, he was not signed off.
No, it was his first day was T19. We were like, way far into the training, the cycle of the platoon and everything else like that. I wanted him to get signed off. He was that good, but it just wasn't going to happen. And he was okay with it. It wasn't like bitter and hard feelings. But the point I wanted to make is it's not like a gotcha moment or like a trick. Like, yeah, if you don't show up, we're going to F you up. Yeah. Some guys are definitely like that, though.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, the depot has its ebbs and flows of how they train hats and, you know, what top performance means, you know. So there's always a cycle. The older drill instructors will always say the newer drill instructors are softer, just like everything in the Marine Corps, you know. So it has its ebbs and flows, but like it's just one of those things. Regardless of what you're told by your company, regardless of what you choose to do with your leave and stuff like that, the expectation should be when you get there, be ready to work.
What's your opinion on depot politics? Is that a thing?
Oh yeah, it's definitely a thing. But well, I would say yes and no, because I think that it's circumstantial, and also that those politics per se, a lot of it has to do with if you perform and if you like give a shit, you know. Because for me, I had a lot of things that were not usual for a drill instructor. Like I never did a chief cycle, but I went straight to DI school. I got signed off on T7 of my first cycle because they moved me to a platoon where it's just me and the senior. And
what?
Yeah. So like, and there was plenty of other drill instructors that were more senior to me, and I was really hated in the company at the time because of it, because they're like, what the hell did they choose this Bobby ass guy that hadn't even done a full cycle?
So now you really kind of got to target, who is he?
Yeah, exactly. Like I still have the picture on my phone of, you know, one of the other seniors went down because essentially T7 first cycle, I get called in by the chief. I'm like, what did I do wrong? And I go to he's like, go see the CO. I go talk to the company commander, and he's like, hey,
I would have been like sweating bullets.
Right, yeah,
oh
I was.
gosh.
Yeah, and so like
you don't just get called in.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm like, man, what recruit is like talking mess and everything? Yeah. And so I go in there, and he's like, I've never done this before, but you're signed off. And I'm like, okay, sir. And then he's like, and you're going to first deck with Cesar and Toilolo. All of his drill instructors are gone. It's just him. So
because they all got sat down there.
No, it was. One of them was gone to McQuist. One of them got, I think one of them did get sat down, and the other one got injured. And so it's just him. And so I remember going on deck, going to the duty hut, you know, giving proper greeting. He's like, Hernandez, been seeing what you've been doing. Love it. Because I did have a little bit of a partial previous, so they knew a little bit about, you know, what I was about. And he's like, love what you're doing. Get out there and kick drill. And I was like, yeah, you see her face, you know? And I'm like, you mean like go, you know, teach drill? And he's like, yeah, go hit mini grind. And so I go out there, I'm like, this is a test, you know? So I go out there, start.
This has got to be.
Exactly. So I go out there, I start messing the deck up, you know, having them cross racks and everything.
Of course.
So like, and he goes
You're
out.
in heaven.
Right, exactly. He goes out there, zeros out the deck. And he's like, drill instructor, teach drill. I'm like, oh, so I set up.
This is your CO?
No, the senior.
The senior, okay.
And so I set up the mini grinder, and you know, they have the foot lockers out there, and I'm like, we were taught you don't walk on those foot lockers if you're not a J. And he's like, get the fuck up there, you know, get the heck up there and teach drill. And so I get up there. And
you're thinking this is.
I'm thinking
the same thing. The grinder is what we call the parade deck.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we set up, for those of you guys that don't know, the mini grinder is inside the squad bay. Yeah. We are only working on halted portion drill. We're not marching in the squad bay,
so
right?
Left face, right face.
There's rifle movements.
Rifle movements mostly. Okay. Yeah. And what Dylan is referring to is you would stack, the recruits would push all the beds, the racks to the, you know, one part of the squad bay, leave the other part open, right? Then they would take foot lockers, push them up against the other wall there, and then that's what you would stand on. Yep. And as Dylan is describing, the only green belt authorized to do that is a J, and he's thinking, I'm not that, so.
Yeah. And so I'm thinking it's a test. And so he gets on to me again, he's like, teach drill. So I'm up there and I'm just teaching something basic, you know. But I still have a picture of me holding the rifle and blasting recruits that a senior took because he's like, wow, you know, and it's a picture of me screaming at the recruits with a rifle in my hands, and then it says I'm the mother freaking J or whatever, and it went out on the company line. Not even 10 minutes of me being on that deck. So. Anyways, so like things.
So they kind of did set you up though. A little.
Well, that yes and no.
You were the J, but they made sure.
Yeah.
Wow, Bobby's a J. Wow, look at him.
Yeah. Exactly. But that set that, and then also like during pickup week, another thing that kind of set the tone for what the expectations was. First on Coburn in pickup week would ask all the drill instructors, what do you want to leave here as? What do you want to leave here as? Just to kind of go into, performance and everything else, give us a pep talk. And, I'm brand new, first cycle. And he asked me and I said, I want to leave here the drill master of DI school. And of course, all the other drill instructors in the company, they're like, "Who is this guy?" Like you haven't even done a cycle.
Why there's so much shit talking as drill instructors?
Well, because it's one of those things that
there's so much shit talking.
I think it's one of those things. One, it's just the environment. Everyone's kind of got that alpha mentality, and then two, because a lot of people say stuff, but until they experience it, like the F days and stuff, they really don't understand.
I'm gonna be honest
because
with
the
you.
drill field is an environment where you keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
Until you prove yourself.
Yep.
You better prove yourself, because the first thing that people are going to be looking at, what did he mention? He mentioned, how hard are you working? How much do you care? If you're not that guy, the depot ain't that big. I don't care if you're a kilo company, alpha company, it don't matter. I'm getting the word on Dylan Hernandez, whether I'm in Charlie, he's in kilo.
Official.
And if he comes to my house and needs something and he's a Waddy, guess what? I'm not even going to acknowledge his existence. I'll be like, I'm not even going to look at you, dog.
Yeah.
Now, if I know he's out there kicking it and I got a homie in kilo and he's like, hey, dog, I'm sending my new head over there, man. Make sure you take care of him. Hey, bro, come inside, dog. Sit down, bro. What's up? Hey, here's an energy drink. I'm going to hook him up.
Yeah.
That's how it goes, right?
Yeah.
But you better be working hard.
Yeah.
You got to prove yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Albert's mad.
No,
He's
I'm not mad.
Look at
I'm not
him.
mad. I'm literally fucking.
Now you sound like Biden.
Yeah.
I am legitimately asking for answers. Okay, but I have an excuse though. It's my accent. I can just blame it on my accent.
Wow.
But hey, but it's okay. So the reason why I asked that, man, and I have a lot of respect for you, because you don't only talk the talk, but you walk the walk, and you've shown that. You're not afraid to get out of the Marine Corps and do amazing things out of the Marine Corps. I'm going to tell you where my gripe is at, right? Is these drill instructors that try to pass as alpha males, but they talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk.
Yeah.
Explain.
Well, I've got one thing on that. I think anyone who claims that they're an alpha male, like, if you've got to claim something like that, you've got bigger problems. Like that. That I think there's a whole.
I agree.
So that's the first problem, and then two, it's just like, what if you have to talk about what you can do instead of just showing people what you can do? Again, you've got a problem, and that was my thing. Is like, you just perform. That's all you got to do.
That's why I have a lot of respect. That's why I have a lot of respect for you, man, because you weren't afraid. You weren't afraid to show that from what we're learning right now in the drill field. But here's the thing, man. Like, there's a lot of people out there that are still under the security blanket of the Marine Corps, and they like to talk all that shit. But come out here in the real world and then talk that shit, and then let me know how it actually goes.
Yeah.
That's the real SDA. The real SDA is getting out and making it.
Yep.
Because it's easy for you to talk all that shit, and we've been scrutinized. Me and Barry have been heavily scrutinized out there in the depot over this past few weeks because of the interviews that we've done very recently. And I can guarantee you that half of those drill instructors, I can guarantee you that half of those drill instructors, I would say about 70%, not even half, are just repeating what they hear from the ones that are really scared of really challenging us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the reason why, I say that about the alpha people. Because none of those people really intimidate me at the slightest.
Well, the thing is the reality is there's always going to be haters. There's always going to be people that say something. But one, if your actions and like the way you are above reproach, they have nothing to say in the first place, or nothing that they can actually use that's legitimate. And then two, it's not worth it's not worth giving them any thought, because now you're giving them power over you. And so like I'm a firm believer in that, because when your thoughts are filled with, oh, this person said this, or this person's thinking that, or saying this about me, yeah, and what can you control? If you can control yourself and ensure that your actions are above reproach, and that you're doing that you're doing things with pure intentions, then it doesn't matter anyways.
You know, I had that mentality a couple of years ago. I had that mentality a couple of years ago, and that's the mentality that started me to get on the level that I am today, right? But you know what I realized? Every single time that I had that mentality, something will catch me by surprise. A low blow from somebody.
Tell me more.
That was like, man, I wasn't expecting that from that person.
Did you address it with them?
100%.
Yeah.
But that's when I realized that their intentions, because I would take people as face value, and I wouldn't think about it anymore.
Right.
Because it's like, first of all, I would have that mentality, right? It's like, man, I'm not gonna give him the thought of the day or whatever. But then I realized that it wasn't just that; it was a deeper plot behind it, right? And it happened to me at the end of my career, and it happened to me at the beginning of my real estate career.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's when I realized, like, man, like there's deep. I need to be doing that, but I also need to have a contingency plan in case this continues to go on. That way it doesn't catch me by surprise.
Yeah.
Well, with the depot too, right? I don't care what people think, only goes so far. Why?
Well,
because now all of a sudden what you think is going to him.
Yeah.
He's in a more of a position of leadership, and now it's trickling its way up to the sergeant major. And we've had drill instructors on here, right? And guess what? Their phone for real rang, and it was the sergeant major. Like, get over here, And you know, that's, as a drill instructor, that's like, whoa, you know, this is for real. This is scary, right?
I imagine you. What would you have? Well, obviously, you being a drill instructor, and then all of a sudden you see another drill instructor in a podcast.
Right.
What would have been your thoughts on like seeing another drill instructor in a podcast? Because obviously, you and correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm incorrect, but you started your social media heavy presence after you got out of the Marine Corps, correct?
No, actually, I had I had a bigger one before I even went to the depot.
Okay.
So I can't remember. I think I actually got up to 10,000 before I as I was a drill instructor. But the stuff that I posted was never like. It was all motivational stuff. It's always been motivational, inspirational, trying to like help others, self-help kind of things. It's never been like, look at me, like I'm this cool kind of person or whatever, you know? And so I think it just really depends on the approach of and intent behind what's being posted, right? So obviously I can't say anything. I posted stuff when I was on social media, so much so I still get shit for it. At one cycle I got like pizza for free or something, because I was getting pizza for the company, and the guy was like, are you Cesar Hernandez? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, I follow you on Instagram or something. I was like,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So like, but anyways, I say that to say, I don't have a problem with people posting things on social media per se. What I do personally have a problem, and at the end of the day they're gonna do what they're gonna do and get on them for it. I don't like the veil being pulled back so much, because I think that the allure of being a drill instructor and seeing a drill instructor is like, they are robots, they are, you know, the epitome of what it means. They're a machine, right? And so I think that the amount that people are sharing and the amount that people are putting out there, personally, I feel like some of it tarnishes the image of a drill instructor, and not in all cases. And I respect them for it. Like I'll never, I'm not gonna. It's not gonna change my viewpoint of them as a person. I just disagree with what they're doing in some cases.
And most of the depot's gonna look at it. They're gonna say that he's weak. You're weak.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know,
and I appreciate that conversation, though. I appreciate an honest response. I don't agree with it. By the way, I don't agree with it just because, like, my biggest disappointments in life in general, not just with drill instructors, but in general, is when I really wanted to meet someone
and they weren't who they were.
And they weren't who they thought they thought they were going to say.
For
and
me,
that happens with a lot with drill instructors.
That's
it
always
does,
been,
man. It does for me. It was hard. I was super young and I super drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Okay, so like when I would go in a drill instructor's duty hut, let's say I'd been on the depot for a while, I see all these cover blocks. Oh my gosh, I would immediately start making comments like, what is this, a freaking art gallery? What are you, Picasso? Are you training recruits here? Are we running a freaking, this is an art show out here.
and let's also address
You know?
something like, because for me, I haven't always had this mentality, right? So like I'm definitely not the same person I was like when I was a brand new drill instructor. I was very institutionalized at the time, you know. So yes, there were times where like I would have immediately been like, that person's trash for being on social media and posting like the shit that they're doing.
And that's what that's
But
what,
that's 100% the environment that they're in, and it's just how it is. Because the thing is like by them doing that, who's training the recruits, or who is training the drill instructors? Who's
is that a rhetoric question, or is that, because I can provide an answer?
Is that a what?
Rhetoric? Is that how you say it?
Rhetoric? Oh,
Rhetoric,
rhetoric. Yeah, no.
Well, no, I mean, but like my thing
Because
is,
I can promise you I can answer that question.
The answer is
even not me as a drill instructor, because I was never a drill instructor. But you know what that's called? People fail to really understand the word time management. And just because some people I'm trying not to cuss. So just because some people freaking suck at time management doesn't mean that everybody sucks at time management.
I agree.
Well, but
I
I'm
agree.
just being honest. I know that about myself. I was 1,000,000%. That was the pulse of the company I was in.
Yeah.
Very segregated. That's it, man. And I don't mean by like race. I'm talking like by billet. You talk to people you talk to. You keep your head down. You do the work. We didn't have social media either, but at the same time, it would have been the same issue if we had it. You know, and there was always an issue where you would look at another drill instructor and you would make, we call them hazer comments.
Yeah.
Wow, I guess you ain't got to run. I guess Jay's back there. And you would say all these things, right?
And my thing also on that though is, I think again, success leaves clues in performance shows. So if they're performing and then that's a different conversation in my perspective. That is because my thing is like. So, for instance, the one that you just had on here, not Hampton Fur, but the guy from Segment, I think so. Like he just got honorable platoon, so good on him. Like he's obviously doing something right. So like so that's why like I choose not to say things about them because one, I don't know them, so I can't speak educated on it anyway. So it's not worth making a comment about them or what I think. And then two, like if they're performing, then good on them. Now,
you know what happened to him though? He went on 2 boards for him to be the drill master, and he got turned around. He got turned around. And I'm talking about
I think it's because of his social media.
100%.
So like here's the thing. Also, though, is like there's also a sense of professionalism that, and not to say that he's being. I'm not talking about him specifically, but just in general. Like there's an image of professionalism and just like the image of a drill instructor and like how they carry themselves. And so like I think with that, especially as a drill master, like there is a certain respect that should be earned and should be given to that drill master. But if it's someone that people just don't have respect for because of how they act or what they do, and stuff like that, then you're not going to have the same impact or the same results at that billet.
I'm going to ask this question, and I want the audience. This is I get that's a school of thought on that, which I completely understand, and I'm glad that we're having this conversation because I think it's a conversation that really needs to be had.
And by the way, I'm not afraid. Like I wasn't afraid to be against the grain. Like it made a big change when I was the drill master at DI school. So I'm not against change, just within reason and for the right reasons.
Yeah, no, and I get that. And again, like this is what people are afraid of. Believe it or not, there's certain majors that are afraid of having this conversation that we're having right now.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And it's just simply a conversation. I respect that school of thought. Mm-hmm. The other school of thought is, so you're telling me that there's never been a drill master, a chief, a first sergeant, or a sergeant major that has never gotten a DUI? Let's start with that. Let's start with that. No. Let's start with that. Just I'm gonna guide the conversation. So has there never been any of those things? And let's just generalize it. As a drill instructor, has there never been?
I mean, I remember when I was the 1st Battalion drill master.
Were there any drill instructors?
The regimental drill master got a DUI. He was a first sergeant select. He kept his job. he was still promoted.
Well, I'm not talking about that. Let's say the person loses his job. That's fine. You know,
Right.
like
Okay.
that's fine.
Okay.
I'm talking about like that person's still going to be held accountable.
Sure.
I understand that. But you know what? You know what happens though? People it's because they got caught. Not because it's the first time they're not doing. That's just the way that's just the
Sure.
time that they didn't get away with it.
Sure.
Okay. So
Me, I would rather trust a guy that might be in social media demonstrating who he really is as a person than the guy that sits behind the freaking curtain, how we said it, right? Doing all this mischievous shit just because you can, instead of you actually, you know, being a decent person and not be afraid of showing that you're a decent
I
person.
mean, how can I explain things in the depot? The most smallest things, the most minuscule things. Okay. If you're a new drill instructor, I'm a J, and I watch you. We're going to PT, and you're driving the cart. I will never forget. You're laughing because you know, right?
Yeah.
If I observe you,
And this all this shit that I'm lost. By the way, I'm lost. I'm just saying,
Albert, we're talking the safety vehicle that must go to PT, right?
Yeah,
if
yeah.
a drill instructor went on an RS visit,
yeah,
I
never went.
he's trash because we don't need you, so go, right? You
Yeah.
can go play with the police because you ain't stressing these guys out. If I saw you sit down,
is that happen still?
Yeah. Well,
if I saw-
I don't know.
if
I don't know still, but
If I saw you sit down in front of recruits, I walked in. I was a J. I walked in on a drill instructor, green belt, junior to me. He's in there. I don't know what he was doing. Had his campaign cover off. Dude, I combat kicked the footlock. I don't know what he was doing. Boom, get your friggin' drill instructor. I mean, I went off on him in front of I didn't care. I did not care. I didn't care.
Yeah.
What are you going to do about it?
I don't know, man. We
that's the
talk about
littlest
this.
thing.
We talk about this, and I'm gonna let you go. But the reason why I touch upon, and I guess we keep going back to the drill instructor stuff, right? It's because they're the ones that they're the most scared, or you know, the most. I don't even know the word of their.
Yeah.
Of them being like
Yeah.
human beings. Like
Now,
God.
here's what you want, and correct me if I'm wrong. You're a Marine. You want everybody to be treated like a Marine with dignity and respect. The problem
Yes.
is, on the depot, it's the mafia mentality, and we will whack you out.
Well, the people are recruiting. The people are recruiting, but guess what? We don't get. Well, actually, there is a RS in the 12th Marine Corps District Sergeant Major that has been talking. I've been talking shit, but he was a drill instructor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but let's go. What was it that you wanted to say?
Well, no. So I was gonna say on that though, because you were talking about like ARIs and stuff like that, and like has there never been someone? So my follow up question to that is if you have multiple candidates for a drill master, let's say, this guy is supposed to be in charge of everything, drilling ceremonies for that battalion, and should be a leader for that battalion in that respect, and you've got two guys that are really close to each other. One of them might not have the best, what's the word? Not necessarily popularity, but just the best track record because of the stuff they post on social media and stuff like that, not being afraid to be against the grain and stuff. You've got one that has been, just performing, keeping his head down and just doing what he needs to do. Still professional. They're both like equal. Which one do you think has the better ability to get the job done?
The one that goes against the grain. You know why? Because we are in a position right now in our Marine Corps history that we need to evolve.
What do you mean by that?
I'm not agree. I'm not disagree. I don't disagree.
We need to evolve. And if you have
Do
the
you
guy,
mean
you have the
exploit
yes
social
person.
media?
What I'm understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you have one that's not afraid to talk out, and essentially post things on social media or talk out or be against the grain, like we're calling it right now. And then the other one that, like you said, that keeps his head down. Yes, for sergeant. Yes, sergeant major. This is what you want. I'll get it done. When in reality, the sergeant majors and they don't have, specifically in the depots or in any MOS, it's not a combat MOS. There's no freaking bullets going down range.
Yeah.
You're not getting shot at. We are in a position right now. If you ask me this, because I've been analyzing this, if you ask me this anywhere from 2001 to 2009 to 2010, I'll be like, hell no, shut the hell up. This is the way that we've been doing, because literally, your life could be at stake.
Sure.
We are not in a combat position right now. We are in the rear. re-sipping our freaking packs, putting the black tape on our freaking packs, that is the perfect time for somebody to be put in that position. It's like, no, man, like that's stupid. Like, what can you please break it down to me a little bit more, Sergeant Major?
So I've got a question. I've got a follow-on question.
Yes.
So because we're not currently in combat, do you think that we shouldn't be prepared for that or have the ability to be in that mindset? Because the counter to that, in my perspective, or just a different perspective, because I see what you're talking about, and I agreed with it to a point. But at the same time, if that's the environment that we try to foster as a whole, and we just create all these people that aren't afraid to, go against the grain and stuff like that, and again within reason, right? I think that should always be something that is a part of it. But if that is what we're focused on, then how difficult does that make it whenever we do get put in a combat situation and you are told to do something specifically, and there is an expectation of what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to do it, but you're just too busy thinking about how, what your thoughts are on it, like, does that foster the same environment that is going to succeed in that combat scenario?
I'm going to answer that because it happened to me. It happened when we were responding to the attack that happened in Abbey Gate in Afghanistan.
Yep.
Okay, I was out there
at the Abbey Gate.
Not at the Abbey Gate, but I was out there when that chaos was ensuing.
Yeah.
Because we were the ones in charge of taking all the gear in.
Mm-hmm.
We were in charge of taking all the gear out. We were in charge of all the people that was going in, all the people that was going out.
Mm-hmm.
And I fostered that environment to where my guys, if my guys saw something, my guys better fucking say something.
Yeah.
Better say something to me. And better yet, you know what? It got to a point with my guys that they'll be like, hey, Gunny, this happened. This is how I fixed it. This is how we're going to do business from now on. I just wanted to let you know because I know you're the ones that go to the meetings.
Yeah.
You know what that created? That created out of all of my Marines.
Mm-hmm.
I went out there with 3 Marines. And I mentored way more, but directly in charge, I was in charge of 3 Marines. 2 of those Marines were in different countries half of the time.
Mm-hmm.
All of them got a Navy Commendation Medal. We were the only section that got all Navy comms because I would like to believe, and Sergeant Medina, you're out there. Jesus Vela, you're out there. Sergeant Villalobos, you're out there. Probably a drill instructor right now as well. I created and fostered that environment to where you can actually say something, and it was the mission got done above what we were expected of that.
Yeah, and I think I think you can still have that with with that structured mentality, so like I think you can have the best of both worlds, and I think that's how it should be. I don't think it should be just you do what you're told, you don't ask any questions, but I also don't think it should be just do whatever the hell you want and just tell, what I'm saying. So so I think that it's really just a blend of finding the right balance and ensuring that they know when they need to be locked on, and then when it's an opportunity to have a conversation and be like, so I think context is everything. And I think that situation will dictate, what is more, what's the word? Just more required for that situation, if that makes sense.
I can tell you don't like the environment of the depot, and I understand why. It just, if a drill instructor goes there, whether it's PI or San Diego, and they think that they're going to be able to go against the grain, they will 1000% be doing it at the peril of their own career.
Correct.
And it's sad to say that.
Yeah.
And I don't mind. By the way, I don't mind.
But it's real, though.
It's not that I don't even mind. I don't even care.
Yeah.
It's just that the people, we get a good amount of people that hit us up from those coasts.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I also think a lot of things, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And I think a lot of Marines need to learn how to.
No, me. I need to learn. I need to learn how to say.
So I think that's the biggest problem. In most cases, is not what they're saying; it's how they're approaching it. And so with the depot in particular, there was things that I didn't agree with,
Sure.
and there are still things that I didn't agree with, and I still had to do, and I did them, right. But at the same time, there was also conversations, I can't pinpoint anything off the top of my head, but there was definitely conversations that I had with other drill instructors because I didn't agree with how they were doing it or what they were doing and stuff like that, and we had the conversation. So again, if your performance dictates, one, I would also say with that, if you have all these opinions but you also have no performance to back it up, it's invalid.
Very true.
You know what I'm saying? So I think I think that's another problem. So I think that again, kind of with extreme ownership, like you have to realize that you have to start with yourself because that's the thing that you can instantly have an effect on is yourself and how you respond.
Correct.
And by doing so, you give yourself a better
you guys are validation.
Your performance is 1,000% a part of your credibility.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking for. You give yourself more credibility. So when you have those, like for me, if I was someone who I sucked at drill, I never cared about training recruits and stuff like that, and then and then somehow made it to DI school and I told them, hey, I want to change how we do teach backs, they would have looked at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah,
but because I had the track record that I did, and because I showed genuine care and interest and passion for what I did, whenever I was like, hey, look, I'm going to completely change how we do things, they were like, let's do it. Let's try it. See the results of it.
Now, you obviously have a very good mentality, right? Mm-hmm. I'm surprised that the Marine Corps let you go. How did that happen?
So part of it wasn't necessarily an option, just because injuries started catching up. So that was the big thing. And then also I think because I started my transition 2 years prior and everyone knew my intentions, and because I would like to think I'm a decent communicator, I was able to communicate to them why I was doing what I was doing. And once I was able to do that, they had no really ability to try to talk me into it. And I had a plan, because the problem is a lot of people, they try to talk these people that are top performers into staying, and they use the fact that, well, you don't know what's going to happen and, whatever. But when someone has a plan and they can answer every question that you throw at them, you really give them no ammo to work with. So,
yeah. So you decided you started your transition 2 years before you actually got out.
Yeah. So for me, just to kind of give a brief overview, did the drill instructor thing, had a great time there, got selected for MECEP, actually, and also got drill instructor of the year. But then I still think that because I was MECEP is why they try to find a loophole to disqualify me for the TCOM board. That's the one thing that I didn't officially accomplish that still bothers me to this day, because they disqualified me because I was a drill instructor, school instructor, and not on the recruits. But anyways, went to MECEP, and when I got there, I realized just something felt off. Like it just didn't feel right.
Physically?
Not physically, just internally. Okay. Like something just didn't feel right, and I was just like, in my head, I was like, "Is this really what I want to do?"
Okay.
And because up until that point, I'd accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish.
Yeah.
But just something felt wrong. That's kind of what I was talking about earlier when it comes to Marines needing to identify, is their next goal because it's what they want to do, or is it just because that's what's naturally in succession, as you progress in your career. So I kind of realized that I went to the MECEP route more because that was just the natural succession of what I'd accomplished so far, and by moving forward and going MECEP, it gives me other things to pursue.
That makes sense.
And so when I got to OCS, and this was during COVID, so we had the quarantine time, whatever. It just gave me a lot of time to really kind of reflect and realize all the things that I'd missed and things that I was going through, and what that also entailed for retirement. I was going to have to be 22 plus years before I could even look at retirement. And I just realized, I just felt like God was talking to me, and so I prayed about it, and I was just like, Lord, just give me a sign that I'm where you want me to be. And
that's powerful.
And that next day I got COVID, after I'd already passed the COVID test going in there, and been quarantined for 6 days. Somehow that next day I got COVID, and that was a time where they weren't messing around with COVID. So you didn't just get put on hold. You just got dropped.
Oh, wow.
And so I got dropped, and I was just like, well, shit, I already moved the family back to Texas because we're going to go to school in Texas. And again, just prayed. I was like, Lord, just give me a sign, you know, like where do I need to be? And at the time when I hit my monitor up, when I found out I was getting dropped, she was like, sorry, I don't have any spots for you. And I hit up my buddy, Gunnar Sharm Valdez, appreciate you forever. He was like, here, I know about this unit that's standing up here. He's like, let me hit up the Mass Sergeant. So he hit up the Mass Sergeant, talked to him. They just happened to have one spot for my MOS at that one unit. And that Mass Sergeant hit me up. Was like, hey, heard you're looking to move to Texas. I'll see you in a couple weeks.
Wow.
You know, and so that was just like a damn, like things don't, I'm a big believer that things don't just happen for a reason.
Yeah.
And so I got to Texas and just started to see just a change. I started to kind of like self-reflect on what my goals were in the future. I'm always looking 5 to 10 years ahead. And I just realized that, you know, the Marine Corps just didn't have what I was looking for, I guess, in the long scheme of things.
And why real estate?
So funny enough, good old Anthony Glenn, shout out. He gave us so before Anthony Glenn, when I was a sergeant in Cherry Point, I actually worked directly with a Master Guns. Him and I were in the same office, and he was heavily in real estate, but on the investing side. And he had like something like 17 or 27 properties, only owed a mortgage on like 7 of them. Oh, wow. The rest of them were pure cash flow. Wow. Just killing it. Master Guns Howard, I know he's retired by now. He was in the Marine Corps like 30 years when I was with him. But anyways, he was always trying to tell me like, you need to invest in real estate, you need to buy a house. And at the time I was always coming up with all the excuses of why I couldn't do it. And then fast forward to DI school, get the brief from Tony. Okay, cool. Like that makes sense, you know. And then during my time as a drill instructor, I'm never listening to music. I'm always listening to podcasts and always trying to learn something new. And so I was like, okay, maybe there's something to this real estate thing. So I started listening to real estate podcasts. So, Bigger Pockets and stuff like that. And I really started to get into that and realizing like, damn, I've thrown away a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And so then I bought my first house in California, actually when I was a drill instructor at DI school. And just really started to see like the benefits of real estate. And then whenever I got to Texas in real estate, I realized I wanted to be in a profession that I can continue to help people just in a different capacity, but also something that was in control of my schedule and my income. There was just no other option that gave me the location and time freedom that real estate did. And so I realized that, damn, this is a job that if I work harder, I can get paid more.
Yep.
Imagine that, you know, the past 12 years, I worked my ass off, but I still got paid the same as the next shitbag gunny who wanted to do whatever the hell he wanted, you know? And so for me, kind of having that realization that real estate was that option, it was just an easy choice.
Awesome. So how easy was your transition, you know, like, because you said 2 years. So that means that you were doing real estate as a drill instructor?
No, because I got to Fort Worth and I was in Fort Worth for the past 3 years.
That's right. Okay, so you were at Fort Worth. So that's when you really started, you know, going heavy on the real estate stuff.
Yeah. And
how was that transition like? Were you making more money outside of your military career that you were in? How did that work for you? Yeah, so for me, not initially because I was on part of a team. So I paid a big split to my team lead, but I was making about the same as I was in the Marine Corps. And so, but I realized but that was also because I was doing it while still active duty. So I was like, okay, if I can make the same, and I started to make more towards the end than I was in the Marine Corps, but I was like, if I can make, and on a team split. So I was like, if I can make this much on a team part-time, then if I'm able to go full time, like the sky's the limit. And so it was one of those things I quickly realized, like, dang, I can do something with this and help a lot of people at the same time. And so then I was able to just make it happen. How did your mindset change from being a Marine to being a drill instructor? And follow-on question, what things did you had to learn how to let go, and what things did you really hone in that helped you in your military career?
So you're talking about when I was as a drill instructor? Or just
No, not as a drill instructor, as a Marine, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously you take the good things and the bad things,
Right.
you put them in your cargo pocket, how we
Yeah,
say, right?
yeah,
And then
right.
you keep applying those things, right? I'm talking about you as a Marine, not necessarily as a drill instructor.
Yeah. So for me, like mindset, one, that success is measurable in pretty much anything that you pursue. Hence the whole honor grad and meritorious promotions and stuff like that. I just realized early on that like success is attainable. You just have to find what is required to achieve it and just back plan. So that was a big takeaway. Professionalism as a drill instructor and the ability to like focus on things and get really good at them and repetition. It's funny because I actually have like a talk that about things I learned as a Marine. The other one is like just how important scripts are. Like as a drill instructor, you got the senior drill instructor speech, you got the platoon sergeant speech, you've got the teach backs. Everything's a script. Well, when it comes to like real estate or sales, like a lot of it's a script. So I realized the importance of that, attention to detail, and doing what you're told, believe it or not. Because the thing is like, even though we're in, like for you and me being in real estate, even though we're in a 1099 employee, you realize that there's a lot of people that have already achieved what you want to achieve. And if you just follow in their footsteps and do what you're told in that aspect, you'll be able to achieve the same results or better, because they've already paid the ignorance tax to get to where they are in success.
That's a good way of putting it. Ignorance tax.
Yeah, I took that from Alex Hormozy. I can't take credit for that. But the thing is like, because a lot of people, and the other thing that I've learned, not necessarily from the military, but just in general, is investing in the S&P 500 before S&P 500, because when you invest in yourself, you will always get, maximized returns. The problem is a lot of people, they think like, oh, I'm going to spend this money and that's it. But when you realize like, don't be afraid to spend the money to go out there and go to the events and network and meet people, because you never know when that like one conversation can drastically change your life for the, for
and
the
you only
trajectory.
need one conversation. That's why a lot of people don't realize.
Yeah.
Man. Well, you will not get from that one conversation until you have hundreds, maybe even thousands of conversations, but you're only looking for that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, I really appreciate the conversation that we've had. If there was one piece of advice that you would give to transitioning service members, what would that piece of advice would be?
Plan ahead, get financially sound. So it's like a 4-piece thing. One, start at least 2 years prior. If what you're required to do, it takes a 4-year degree, then obviously sooner than that. 2, get yourself financially right, because I would say 95% of service members stay in the military because they're not financially right, and they know that they can't get a job that they want. 3, start networking and identify and start networking and getting, or actually no, 3 would be getting the qualification, certification, education that you require for the job that you want to do next. So that way you can properly plan and have that already, so you're not having to jumble and try to get it last minute. And then 4, networking with the people in the industry that you want to be in. Because even if it's a W-2 job, or it's not, by networking with people that are in that area, and this is one thing I learned from my dad, from what he went through, is you can have all the qualifications in the world, but if nobody knows about you, that you're not going to get the same opportunities. Yep. Whereas if you network with the people and get to know people and what you're looking to do, or even industries that correlate with the industry that you're wanting to be into, you open up way more opportunities to yourself, because people know about you. They know that you're hungry. They know that you've been planning to get out of the military, and now you're creating opportunities left and right, and you can handpick the one that you want, versus being like, well, I just started my job search during TRS. I've got 6 months. Really? This job pays the bills, so I'll do this, even though I know I'm going to hate it. So those are the 4 things: financial, or do it ahead of time. Financial, get the certifications, qualifications, and education, and networking.
Wow, I think you hit everything literally in the head, because that's literally everything it's the same thing, almost verbatim, that what I say to the people that I talk to, right? And a lot of them, I'm pretty sure you see the same thing. I probably see a little bit more just because I'm like close here to the base, but I'm pretty sure people also hit you up. Yeah. And one of the things that they always tell me is like, well, I want to buy a home when I get out. and then I have to be the broker of saying like, bro, you're probably like, okay, so like, before we even talk about real estate, this was literally the script that I tell you. It's like, okay, so before we even talk about real estate, let's talk about your plans. What are your plans? Well, I'm gonna get out, and then I'm going to start working. Okay, so how are you gonna I'm
gonna work at Starbucks.
Yeah, how are you gonna get paid? No, that's the first. They can tell me whatever, right? But it's like, okay, well, how are you gonna get paid? Cash? Are you gonna get paid by W-2? Is it in the same industry that you were working inside of the military? Like, do you already have a job offer letter? Oh no, I don't have that. Like, well then, brother, I always hit him with this question, because that's when they realize, like, okay, so imagine that you are a bank, and I just received an application, and in the application says that you are not gonna see a dime more within the next 6 months. Would you give me money?
Right.
Oh no, I wouldn't. Then why would people give you a loan?
Yeah. Everyone's got the problem is every Marine has a 6-figure opportunity when they get out of the military, supposedly.
Yeah.
But when you start asking them, so how are you going to do that? Oh, my uncle, or well, they said that they'll hire me once I get out, just to hit them up, and like, okay, well, do they require asking the questions, and they start to self-discover, oh shit, I'm not ready for this, and it gets real quick for them, and that's the thing I see commonly. And a fifth thing I would add to transitioning, and this is more when you actually transition, is finding local networks, preferably veteran, because it's something that you can relate to them immediately. Because one of the most common things that I see with other military service members that they struggle with is that sense of community, because they get out and they're just on their own. They go back to the hometown, they go back to whatever, and they don't have that brotherhood or sisterhood that they did in the military. So that's when they get down on themselves, they start getting depressed, and stuff like that. They turn to alcohol or other things. Whereas if you find a good, veteran networking group or something like that you can fill that community with, that kind of fills their cup in that way, so that they have a higher success rate, because there's more opportunities. Because in most cases that I've found in those groups, they know of job opportunities for veterans, and then too, they
it's funny that you mentioned that, because next week we're actually going to have a representative from the VFW, Veterans of Foreign Wars, next week, and he's going to talk about exactly that. Those organizations that exist for veterans, so that way you can find that community that you're talking about. Dylan, brother, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you coming over here and being completely honest, being completely transparent, and having this conversation with us, man. I can tell, me and Dylan have worked together in deals before. I've sent him people over to Texas, because people that get out of the Marine Corps, they're going to Texas or Florida, one of those two. So, the people that work in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I always send them to Dylan. Nothing but great things that I've heard from Dylan. So thank you for taking care of the clients that we sent out there.
Of course.
And then, brother, I can truly see the reason why success follows you, man, is because the mindset, how open you are to listening, about asking the right questions, about not shying away from a tough conversation. I can tell the reason that's why you're being so successful, man. So
I appreciate that, man.
I know you're going to continue growing from here, brother, and I wish you nothing but continued success.
I appreciate that, brother.
Same thing for you. And doing the work, putting in the effort, that's a huge piece of it, right? I always say that, we don't have an education problem, we have an application problem. You just got to apply the stuff you already know. You really don't need another self-help book necessarily, or another podcast, man. You need to freaking dig in and work hard. You want to make something happen, it might take some effort.
A lot of people, they have analysis paralysis, or another thing Alex Morosi says is they like to mentally masturbate a lot. They think about it a lot, but they won't actually put action to it. But you start to realize that the learning is in the doing 9 times out of 10. Like just put in the action. Amen. So I appreciate it.
Barry, where can people reach out to you?
You guys are over to hit me up at Instagram @Bull5277, TikTok @Bull52772, YouTube, the A to B podcast. Subscribe, follow, share, comment. We love all the comments. Hit that little notification bell. That way, when we post hot, fresh content, you are notified right away. And we want to have the people on here that you guys want us to have. If there's questions that we're not asking, let us know what those are. We want to ask them. This is a place, it's not just for me and Albert in some kind of a freaking wind tunnel. It's for you too, all right? So that's where you can find me. Click the link in my bio, schedule the call. The call is for free. The change will last you a lifetime.
Dylan, where can people reach out to you at?
Yeah, so you can find me on all platforms, _Dylan Hernandez, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. If you Google Dylan Hernandez Realtor, you'll likely find me, and I'll make sure that my information is also below. And jump on a call. You got questions about real estate in the Texas area, send me a message or shoot me an email, give me a call. Be happy to help you out, and let's get you taken care of.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in to this amazing episode. Like we said, we have nothing but fresh content every single week. Next week is VFW. Trust me, there's a that we just had a brand new follower, but he comments in all of our videos. I think he's been watching the A2B podcast, and he asked for an MSG detachment commander. So guess what? We got him for you on the schedule. So make sure that you guys keep liking, following, and subscribing to all of our social media accounts, and I'll see you guys in the next one.